have a motion for adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenhouse?
Yes.
Public participation. Each person who wishes to address the board will be asked to give his or her name and address. Remarks should be limited to 3 minutes in length. If anyone who wishes to do so has had the opportunity to speak, additional comments can be made up to the total allotted time of 30 minutes. Okay, number 3, treasurer's reports.
Okay, we have 2 sets of minutes to approve. We have the regular minutes from July 11th, then we had our special meeting minutes from July 31st. We have both the June and the July financial reports since we didn't get June done last month. A little bit of information about that. June, we did end our fiscal year at a negative $33,231, which was pretty much what was expected. For July, the highlights are the school district income tax. It just arrived the end of July. Income tax came in $22,713 over last year's same quarter. So that's really good news. It's taken a while for the income tax to kind of get back on track where it matched up, because between the pandemic and the not reporting and the tax dates being pushed back, so we're finally to where we can compare to last quarter and know that it's still a valid number. So that was exciting. We had 3 new CDs. Interest rates are going up. We want some long-term ones. So our interest rates are up over 5%, so that's pretty exciting. The lunch and breakfast prices for the 23-24 school year, our new food service director, Mr. Kraft, has decided that our lunch prices need to go down, which reduced our lunch prices, so that's pretty exciting. Breakfast down to $1.75 for all students. Our lunch is $2.75 for up to 6th grade, $3 for high school, and our staff lunch is going to be $3.75. And then he did list the extra a la carte items on here and what we're going to charge for that. And I want to remind everybody that the state, with the new budget bill, has made students that were eligible for reduced price lunches, the state is going to cover the difference. It doesn't actually start until October, but they want us to begin it at the beginning of the school year with covering that. So that means that all reduced and free students are going to eat for free. So it's really important this year to get the free and reduced applications in to the food service office out there in TV land.
Please get those in.
It's really important. We do have a Pay Schools, which is online, so our parents can fill them out online, or you can come in and get a paper copy if necessary. But it's really important to get those out because reduced is not free. Our next part we are looking to again use our ESSER funds. We're on to our ESSER 3, our third tranche of money. We're looking to use that again to reimburse all of our newly hired substitutes for their background checks and for their ODE license application fees. Speaking of substitutes, we're going to increase our substitute rates with the first day of school, which is August 23rd. Teacher subs are going up by $5 per day, so it's $105 for our sub teachers. We pay by the day or half day, $52.50 for half a day. Our retired teachers that come back and teach will be at $110, and our regular sub teachers, after they've worked 40 days for the district, they also go to the $110. But something new this year is we're going to go with $120, which is what we're paying our learning loss permit sub tutors. We're going to go $120 for our sub pay for teachers that come in to cover long-term absent teachers, like maternity leaves or somebody's off for whatever reason for long-term. So we did up that to $120 because we realized that there's a lot more planning and whatnot that goes into it than just regular sub. Our classified subs, which are all of our cook helpers and custodians, are going up by 10 cents to $12.60 per hour. And then our bus drivers are going up by a quarter. Our sub bus drivers for the athletic and academic trips to $15.25, and route drivers up to $17.75. So we always need sub bus drivers. We will train you if you want to learn how to be a bus driver. We will pay you for your training time. It's a really rewarding career.
Joe.
We really like retired people to come in and drive bus too, so that's always a good thing to do in your retirement. And that's all I have for this meeting.
Thanks, Joyce. May I have a motion for the approval of items 1 through 5 under treasurer's reports?
So moved.
Second,
A second.
discussion.
Yeah, Joyce, I have a question. On this, after working 40 days, is that any 40 or does it have to be 40 in a row for the same?
No, any 40. Any 40. Any 60 days, consecutive 60 days in the same position does get you to being the BA zero schedule and benefits for any sub that does that. But any 40-day subbing, we do go to the higher rate.
But the 60 has to be
Consecutive,
consecutive in the same.
Same.
So
mhm.
there's no danger of them going like 59 and then us switching them to a different.
No, we wouldn't.
In the past they did though.
Wow.
I mean, no, it wasn't you, but in the past they did.
Yes, no, we
That's why
wouldn't.
I'm asking.
Yes,
Okay.
no, we wouldn't.
If someone went on a trip though, we've had that as well.
Yeah.
Someone's gone on a trip and it's closed, like, it's closed, but does not, it has to be the full 60.
Yeah.
Right, because it's in a revised code, it's not part of the negotiated agreement, because they're subject, so it's a revised code that has a 60-day language, so if the sub doesn't wanna work, that's,
Okay.
but no, we wouldn't.
Well, I hope not, but like I
No.
said, in the past, well, that's when I was teaching. That's years ago.
Joyce, the per day rates, are those comparable with other schools in the area?
Yes. Well, okay, so yes, but you have to look at the different schools. Some schools, pay a little bit more because they need more subs, it's harder to get subs. So we're probably paying more than some places and we're paying less than others, but it's pretty much comparable, yes.
Any other discussion?
No matter which way you're gonna have trouble getting subs. Let's face it.
Right, which we do, and
Yeah.
yes. Another good thing to do is sub-teach.
Plugs then.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Norris.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Cooley, personnel.
One item for correction, our July 31st board agenda stated section F for the retiree hire for those 4 employees. That should be section Q, that's a correction from the CBA. Number 2 is a leave of absence for Suzanne Hostetter for the 23-24, the entire year, upcoming year. We have several resignations. Marcy Burns, it's exciting there, so usually resignations are not, but she is our Boys and Girls Club director. So as you know, we accepted her resignation as a teacher effective in October 1. This is the supplemental that we hired her in prior to knowing that she was going to have that director seat. So that's actually exciting because she'll be the director of Boys and Girls Club and unable to fulfill that supplemental. Chris Higgins, very difficult one to accept. He is a math teacher at Norwalk High School, has been with us for 17 years, and he is the elite status. He's cream of the crop. You talk to anybody who knows him, kids have had him in school. When they graduate from Norwalk High School and you say, who made the biggest impact in your life? Chris Higgins' name is always mentioned. And if you're listing a group of teachers, and might be 2 or 3 teachers, Chris Higgins will always be in that combination name. So while it's very tough to accept this, he's got some health concerns that he's gonna be working from home, very much in his skill set in the math tech field, and that's his plan. So with those health concerns, he cannot continue in this position, but like I told him in the acceptance of the letter for the resignation, that he is clearly, I am open to entertaining him returning to our district if that time would come. But yeah, top-notch individual, anyone out here knows that for sure. Katie Laser, resignation as Main Street Robotics Assistant Director. She was the assistant to Marcy Burns in that position. Christy Miner is a special needs aide, effective August 21st. And then our last one there is Corey Robinson as the Norwalk Middle School football coach, who was hired in the June meeting. We have the employment listing here of certified and classified subs. So we have first page there of all certified. The second page, as you turn, is classified. Supplemental contract, so we just stated Katie Laser. She will now be moving up to the lead position at Main Street. She will be the robotics head advisor for grades 5 and 6. Special contracts, just mentioned Corey Robinson as a resignation at the middle school. He'll be moving up and fulfilling Keith Mora's last full-time position at Norwalk High School. So with that, Keith Mora as a full staff for NHS. Majorette, we have Ashley Cruz, boys soccer, Kyle Brubaker, football, we have a shared 50-50 contract, and that's basically fulfilling Mr. Robinson, Coach Robinson's spot, and that's Carson and Christopher. They'll be fulfilling that. Number 7, we have extended time. So these are individuals that beyond their work schedule for the academic year, given their schedule, they have to have additional time. So a lot of those, when you see 20 days, it's typically 10 prior to school, 10 after the close of school. You'll see 3 days is with our SLPs, our speech language pathologist. We have 10 for several of our middle school. We have Ray Scheid and Stacy Timke, 15 for Scott Spettle, and then the next bump up is 20, and that's our 3 high school counselors. That's Ratiba and Sean Collins, our psychologist, and I guess I missed Jackie White the 10 days. So that's the listing of there. Like I said, all those individuals, when we pay them extended time, you better believe that they're putting more time than those actual days. So we are getting our money's worth and more, because those are all quality people on that list. Number 8, resident educator Nick Kish will serve in that capacity. So he's responsible for our new teachers and assigning the mentor-mentee program for the RE in Norwalk City School District. Number 9 is the list of our new teaching staff, and they will be paid $150 for the one teacher orientation day, which is actually next Monday. Mr. Kirschbaum will be helping with that. That's a day we try to do our best to onboard all our new staff to get them in the swing of things, to be ready and prepared to work in our district. We try to get smarter each year, and that's one of the things we've done is actually move that forward. So it's 1 week prior to the start of all staff being here and kids starting, so they have time to actually be in the classroom, have access to their computers, and get those things and have time for questioning. So a little time to take a breath in between that, because before we always went new teacher, all teachers, and then kids. So we like to move that up a week, and that's what we're doing this year. Number 10 is a stipend for Mr. Kish and Miss Sandy Stewart to be paid for high schools that work. In the state budget, the making schools work, that was actually cut. So that no longer exists. Some of that program and resource things that we do with them leading that, we are still continuing what they're doing as building level leadership. So that's a paid stipend, pretty minimal, but that has been pulled from the grant, which is high schools that work and making middle grades that work. So other states have kept that. State of Ohio decided the state budget, that would be axed, so that no longer exists. But those people want to continue to work, and I definitely support that. And our last one is a volunteer coach. Norwalk High School is Tyler Smith. He'll be helping out as well in the football capacity. So that is all I have under personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Cooley. May I have a motion for approval of items 1 through 11 under number 4 personnel?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate Mr. Chris Higgins. Now, full transparency, I don't know Mr. Higgins all that well, but everyone I've talked to has been highly complimentary of him. As a teacher, colleague, mentor, and coach, Mr. Higgins has been a positive example for students and adults alike. I actually want to take a moment to read his Facebook post, because I think it sums up the essence of his character. Here's what Mr. Higgins had to say. He said, 17 years of great memories simplified in a pile of items on the kitchen table. I hope one day that those items can once again be hanging on my classroom walls. I never imagined life as anything other than a teacher, coach, and mentor for the adolescents of the community, but my body started revolting 2 years ago. My mind and spirit remain positive most days, as most of my mental energy continues to be involved in the puzzle that is NDPH. I was beyond ignorant that people live with this kind of mysterious condition. It has changed my ability to be a social being in ways that are hard to describe, even to the many doctors that I've met. I continue to play with the puzzle pieces of medicine to find a solution that allows for normalcy. One thing I do conclude from my many tests and appointments is that I'm a very healthy individual. Until medicine finds a way to change my status, I will have to find a new way for a math, computer science, and sports nerd to make a living. But I know it can be done in time and with patience. I'm so lucky that my first career was such a positive experience with a community of support. He ends it this way. He says, don't take life for granted like I did. I also want to read the comments from Megan Miller, one of the players that played for him. She says this, she says, I would say Coach Higgins has always been a very respected man because of how much knowledge he has for the game of tennis. You can tell how passionate he is for the game because he's always pushed me to be my best. He's taught me how to focus up in difficult matches as well as how to become mentally strong. If Higgins wasn't one of my tennis coaches, my career, my character, and my skills wouldn't be where they are now. And so I would just end it like this. Mr. Higgins embodies, I think, the best of Norwalk City School District, and I would just offer him a well done and a best wishes in his future endeavors. So congratulations, Mr.
I'd like to add to what he just said. When I taught at Byron's, I had several Norwalk students come over there in that college prep, plus the ones that graduated. And the ones that had Chris were top-notch students that came over. And I knew I didn't have to, I asked them what high school they went to, and they said Norwalk. I didn't have too much to worry about. Yeah, they were very, very well prepared.
And you always want to say, every one of us is replaceable, I'm replaceable, the next person up here is replaceable. And that's one where you have to I have to sit here and be puzzled a bit if I'm thinking, is that person replaceable?
That's right.
That's where I'm left with, because I don't know if I can say that for the people I've even known, and I've known a lot of quality.
Well, I know whenever I left, we were always wondering who's going to take Bob Gollop's place. Is that possible? Well, I'm sorry, Bob, but no, well, I disrespect, but I think we found it.
Thanks, sir. Any more discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.
Superintendent reports.
Yes, items for approval. We have our school bus routes to be approved. Corey Schmidt, Tim Shield, Jerry Barker worked many hours to get those prepared. We have a few transportation things that are being looked at right now and changing our busing based on some other routes that we will no longer have to run. So they're still being looked at, but what we have in front of you, those are complete and ready for approval. Number 2 is the 23-24 preschool handbooks. They are listed by individual teachers. We changed our preschool framework, so that is why it's a little bit different. So we look for consistency, those exist. There are a few differences in the way, so that's why they're listed individually as teacher for each of those preschool classrooms. Number 3 is very exciting. We've talked about it. It's been in the news. Memorandum of Understanding with the Huron County Sheriff. This will secure Mike Conti as our school resource officer for the 23-24 academic year. We've had a lot of talk in this district, a lot of talk with the school board, and we're finally at that point where we can say, yes, it is time. And everybody you talk to, we talked about Chris Higgins. Anybody who knows Mike Conti knows him as the right person for this job. So very excited, and that's part of the MOU that's in your attachment in board pack. And number 4, Eric Gonzalez to serve the role of OSBA, Ohio School Boards Association, as a delegate appointment for the annual business meeting. So he is our voting rep for the District of Norwalk. And that is all I have.
May I have a motion for approval of items 1 through 4 under superintendent reports?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
Thanks,
Sir.
Well, so I'm happy to do that, of course, but I'll tell you what brings me more pleasure is the opportunity to bring on Mike Conti. I think that changes the game for our district.
Right?
I think that's, part of our responsibility is safety and security of our students, and I don't think we could have found a better person than Mike Conti to step in that role.
Definitely agree. Thank you to the admin and Mr. Norris. I mean, this has been, since I met you,
Thank you for
something
the time
that you
you
wanted to
put
do.
in.
So, yeah, it's amazing, and I'm really excited, and I think that you picked the most perfect person. I don't think this could go better, so.
And we're actually, so the sheriff, Mike County, Dan and myself, we're talking on Thursday, and then we're meeting with the building crisis response team and the admin from each building on the 17th. And we're gonna be talking safety, security, our wearable badges, and how he will be actually utilized during the course of the day. So that'll be worked out. So we have a couple times that he'll be with our entire staff on August 21st when all staff are here for the introduction of Mike Conti, for those that don't know him. So there may be several.
He's gonna have his bike.
Exactly.
Segue.
Segue within the class always.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Paul Blart.
Any more discussion? No? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
So board discussion and comments. Number 1, EHOBE meetings.
Okay, our board meeting is tomorrow morning, but to date, they are going to begin offering 2 new programs. The first will be in the adult program, and it's for the Adult Education Building Trades program, which will be help all the trades out. The second was actually started with the adult program, the HVAC tech program. They're now going to expand that to the students, and so that will be available this year. And then also, this is kind of, I thought they already had it, but in place of the driver's license, which is so important for those kids to be able to go to work, they're going to expand the driver's ed program to 2 sections each semester and 1 during the summer. Now, I'm not sure if we already did it this summer, but like I said, the board meeting's tomorrow. But the program's going to be free to all the students, which is great.
All EVOB students?
Yeah, right. I mean, it'll be free to all EHOBE students during the school year. And then it'll also be held during the school day too, so they don't have to come in extra. So that's kind of exciting for that too. That's about it so far.
That's great. I mean, that's a huge savings. I mean,
It is.
It's costly to take that.
It's like almost $400.
Yeah.
At least now. Yeah, that's great.
And like you said too, it may end up being more than 2 sections, depending on how many students really want to get into it. So, but I'm excited about that HVAC for the high school students.
Yeah.
You know,
It's another trade that's needed. I mean, HVAC is huge. You see ads all the time, even in our area, where they need
Yeah.
technicians, so.
And of course, the building trades program, I mean, with the carpenters and everything.
I mean, that's a really great idea, because I think sometimes kids want to do trades, but they don't know which one.
Right.
I mean, it's really hard, and they can't take 2. I mean, you have to pick which program you want to be in, so that's great.
Yeah, so things are looking up for the new programs, and there's some more in the offering too that they're going to update us as time goes on.
Legislative report.
Yes, we have legislative items. First, the new budget. We were going to update you about the new budget because we've listened to the BAD conference, the budget analysis and discussion. But there's so much there. And Brad and I and Jen want to work out how we're going to do it because it's so much information. So we're going to wait and do that in September. Unless, of course, you wanted to have a special meeting, we could do it then and we could go over some of the school finance stuff since we have a new board member.
I was actually just going to suggest that in a work session or something, so we can really understand it.
So think about it, if you'd like to have a work session, because I thought that way maybe we could take a deep dive into the school finance part of it, but.
I love it.
We all have different parts, so even like Dan does, myself,
Yeah.
that we could break up and cover those, but we felt like the timing, what's gonna be happening tonight, that to go over that extensively,
It wouldn't be me.
we would, be a little
Or
too
be here
short
all
with
night.
it.
Dan's gotta get up early.
Yeah. We do have a couple other items, if that was all, I don't know
Oh,
if you have
sorry,
any
go
more
ahead.
to, okay.
I do have one more item on the legislative front, which usually I'm talking about at the state level, but this is some information that I wanted to share about the community reinvestment area, the CRA, that the city of Norwalk is looking to expand and approve. So at a high level, this means that any new houses, apartments, condos, housing subdivisions, or multifamily housing will not pay any property tax for 15 years.
So that's
So let
basically
that sink
saying
in.
we're gonna bring families in with kids, send these kids to schools and not have any more money coming into the schools
To actually support them.
to support that education that we're providing for those kids.
Right, any and all new housing in the city of Norwalk will not pay any property tax for 15 years. So we all pay property tax now. So you either write your county treasurer a check twice a year, it might be part of your mortgage payment and your escrow, or your landlord has figured it into your rent, but we are all paying this. But a new house could go up next to you and they would not have to pay taxes for 15 years. A subdivision could go in and no one living there would pay taxes for 15 years. And most subdivisions have lots of families with children who go to school.
What's the average per household? Like
2.5 is the.
2.5 a student.
Child, but that's what
Yeah.
usually comes.
So if you think about that, if it's 15 years, their
15
whole
years.
education year could be never paid
Millions of
for.
dollars
Yeah.
lost in the school system.
So this is a negative on many levels, right? Skipping past the unfairness of it all to all of us that live in the city of Norwalk, I live in the city of Norwalk, let's look at who else is losing out. Not only does the Norwalk Public School District lose that property tax revenue, so does EHOBE, Christie Lane, Edison Local Schools, because Edison is in the northern part of the city. The public library loses out, the county health department, the mental health board, the county senior enrichment service center, the county-wide 9/11 system, the county general fund, and even the city of Norwalk is losing tax revenue if taxes were to be abated. But none of us as a taxing district have any say. It's a decision that the Norwalk City Council will make. And even if you don't live in a city or even in a school district, you will be affected due to the way levies are structured. So as valuation increases, as more buildings come in, valuation increases, effective millage is reduced. So this is basically a way of saying that people that pay their fair share make all of us pay less. But when someone's not paying their fair share, the rest of us have to make it up. Now I could really get into the weeds on this because you know I love to talk about tax levies and the details of that, but it really is complicated, okay? There's also the loss of revenue that would come with rollbacks. 12.5% of your tax bill is paid by the state of Ohio for owner-occupied housing, residential. There's the homestead exemption. $25,000 is taken off the valuation of your house before the 35% is applied to get your taxable value. That's all reimbursed to all of us taxing entities that I listed by the state. So that money is lost too. That would not be coming back to us with this abatement. So I'm not going to get into all that. But finally, the rationale behind this is to incentivize new housing due to the housing shortage. But if you drive around Norwalk, you see there's new houses going up all over the place. Norwalk's a great place to live. We have wonderful amenities. We have a great public school, a thriving downtown with unique stores and beautiful murals, thanks to our art teacher. We have the All Abilities Playground. We have a new pump track. We have a new bike trail that connects to the Firelands Rails to Trails, so you can ride your bike for miles and miles. We have the splash pad. We have electric charging stations so that tourists will stop here and charge their car and go eat at our restaurant. We have the rec center. We have the reservoir where you can rent a canoe for free. We have the storybook trails in our parks. We have the farmers market. We have Market on Main tonight. There's so much good and so much positive happening in Norwalk. We don't need to abate taxes to solve the housing shortage. We just need to build the housing and it will come. The end.
And there's a lot of other parts of that. It's not even just that. If you look down the whole list, someone can make an improvement in their home for $20,000 and get 12 years
Right.
tax payment.
That's a little bit harder for people to do, but yes, that is.
I mean, they could.
Right,
And then
yes.
you have the industrial side where they
There's the industrial and
want to bring them
commercial.
in, and all you have to do, there's no amount of money that they have to invest, but they have to either create or keep
Retain.
2 FTEs, which is 2 full-time people. That is not really bringing jobs to the area. 2 full-time people is not going to make a difference, and they would get 15 years tax-free, from what I know.
Right.
So I have to agree, I don't think this is necessarily best for us, and as a city citizen, it definitely doesn't feel fair to me, as someone's gonna have to pay
I
for
think
that
it's good for
difference.
Norwalk. No, anyway.
Can we approach city council and talk to them, or?
Yes,
tomorrow?
I met with the mayor, I talked to the mayor a little bit. Personally, I know my city council person, and they have a 7:30 work session meeting that I was planning on attending and speaking to city council in an open meeting about my concerns, because I really,
That's right.
yes, these are really hard concepts to understand. And taxes and tax levies and tax abatements, when you hear tax abatement, most people don't know what that means. It doesn't register, right? So it sounds like a good idea. We're gonna bring growth and new people to Norwalk. Okay, yes, but when you think about it at the high level, which is we are all paying taxes, and somebody can come in, build a new house, and not pay taxes for 15 years.
But
That's
everybody
what
else
it
is gonna
is.
Support their child in the school.
Right.
Yeah.
Services, and that's where the issue is. And we don't need it here because people want to live in Norwalk. This is a great place to live. People are coming here now. We
I
don't.
could understand if we had a different level of how many people, like you said, all the great things about Norwalk, but how many people we have here, how much land we have that hasn't been made into anything, but just feels like it's the right plan for some other city,
Right.
not
And
us.
there's
It
cities
doesn't
that
really
need
make
to
sense.
do this
Yeah,
to
I
bring
agree.
people in, but we,
More
People
rural,
wanna come here.
underdeveloped cities. I just don't feel like that's the.
I think perspective is important. I think economic development is important, right? I mean, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. I think what we're asking people is to consider the cost of this particular economic development initiative.
Thanks, Joyce.
so,
There were two items that I wanted to share. One, Mr. Ballman was gonna report on it. You heard that we landed the safe routes to school.
Yes.
So, Mr. Ballman will speak on that.
Yes, last fall, Aaron Osborne, who represented the city of Norwalk, made a presentation to the board about a Safe Routes to School grant opportunity through the Ohio Department of Transportation, and looking at some infrastructure projects or ideas to make routes to school safer for kids, to encourage them to bike and to walk to school. So that initiated a process of working in partnership with the city of Norwalk, of looking at some projects that we could look at for the grant that would provide some safe routes. And so we started the process with surveys. I know Aaron and his group in the city of Norwalk were looking at possible projects. So this was a very lengthy process. We started this in early fall, and the application was submitted, I believe it was in early March. So it was a lengthy process of gathering information, putting together a travel plan. And the exciting news is that we were fortunate enough to receive that grant. So we received just a little over $184,000 to build crosswalks at Christie Avenue and Norwood, at the middle school entrance, and Christie and Benedict. So those are areas, if you travel that area in the mornings or after school, extremely busy intersections. So this will go a long way, to making that area safe. We appreciate all the work that Aaron Osborne and his group at the city of Norwalk, including the police department, to have input in that and allowing us to be a part of that. We're just very fortunate, with that. There were not a whole lot of communities in the state of Ohio that received that grant. So that is a pretty sizable amount of money. So appreciate all the feedback that we got from the parents, from the surveys. We took all that into consideration when doing the travel plan. So I think that we'll see that will make a big difference.
And then my last item, so last Thursday, and some of you know this, but others don't. Last Thursday, Garmin Miller came to our district, went through every one of our student buildings and our non-student buildings to assess the state of our facilities. So they have that information. They had done it several years ago, so they're basically updating that information, and that happened last Thursday. So the executive team, it's not a special board meeting, so the executive team is made up of the president and vice president and the administrative team. We are meeting with them to look at those numbers and kind of get a perspective on where our district is looking with our facilities and what we want to do going forward. So that's the first step. So that's going to happen August 15th is when the executive team meets with Garmin Miller, and then the meetings that follow will be those outreach to the community when we start getting into delving into both the community and the teacher committees that will exist. So this is kind of the first, and that's exciting, like I said, to be working with Garmin Miller. We've been very impressed with them, and we're ready to start making important decisions for this district and this community. So that'll be happening, and that starts August 15th. Thanks.
And yeah, I agree. The spot they picked out is great. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I was driving to the high school and I see kids cross Norwood to the middle school, and it's dark. The change of light, it would be dark and you can't even see them until they're in the middle of the road. So I think that's great where they found places to improve, and it's really wonderful. And then yes, Garmin Miller, we are very excited for that. Any other discussion? Right, roll call please. Or do we need to roll call? Okay, motion, we have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second? Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Norris? Yes. Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Witzenhauer?
Yes.
Alrighty.
Whack, whack.
Well, you can
Have
find the
someone
big.
to keep.
I'm gonna